Hello my dear friends, this is lecture number 11. गलती से ये हो गया 11 on thermodynamics. ठीक है, thermodynamics full syllabus we are going to cover. इसके you can अभी मैं बता देता हूँ तुमको. You can apply for the various colleges with PI option. ठीक है, अभी शायद IIT मद्रास का भी निकला हुआ है, बट प्लीज टेल मी अगर if you are specified by the branch or stream. चलिए, तो जो लोग बच्चे मुझे पहली बार देख रहे हैं, माय नेम इज मोहम्मद शकील पठान. आई एम हैविंग 9+ year of teaching experience, mentor more than 1 lakh students across India, work as senior faculty in many reputed schools of India. अगर अनअकैडमी सब्सक्रिप्शन की बात करें तो आपके पास 2 टाइप के सब्सक्रिप्शन ऑप्शन है, प्लस और आइकॉनिक. इन द प्लस सब्सक्रिप्शन यू विल गेट लाइव क्लासेस, वीकली टेस्ट, स्ट्रक्चर कोर्स, अनलिमिटेड एक्सेस ऑल द लाइव एंड रिकॉर्डेड क्लासेस, रैंकिंग बैचेस एंड क्रैश कोर्स. In iconic subscription, you will get all the benefit of plus subscription. Along with you will get personal course, study plan, study booster session, personal test, study material and dedicated doubt clearing sessions. बात करते हैं अनअकैडमी सब्सक्रिप्शन की, तो आपके पास 2 टाइप के प्लस एंड आइकॉनिक सब्सक्रिप्शन. ठीक है, so we cannot plus or iconic subscription. So 12 month subscription will get at 2704 per month and total fees will be 32,450. And 12 month subscription for iconic subscription 4704 per month and total fees will be 56,450. You can apply my code Pathan to get a 10% discount on an academic plus or iconic subscription. If you apply the live mentoring product, if you take the iconic subscription, is a live mentoring product through which you can ask a doubt personally with your mentor or expert. ठीक है, your teacher. Okay, and you can discuss your doubt, clarify your concept, enhance your exam strategy with just a click away. So now let's talk about the special classes feature. Special classes are the interactive live classes. Here you will have a poll for the learners option. You will have a raise a hand option. You never miss the classes because you will get the notification for the lessons, upcoming courses and recommendation current just for you. And you can download the lecture notes after every class, and you can see the class at any time, anywhere, because you can see the class in the live mode as well as in the recorded format. Now talk about the Unacademy Ask a Doubt session. On Unacademy Ask a Doubt session, you can clear your doubts. Okay, with Unacademy. Okay, to use this tool, what you have to do is that you should take the screenshot of your doubt and just upload on the Ask a Doubt session and choose your preferred language, and you will get the high quality video solution of your particular doubt. Now let's talk about the new batches. Already Unacademy started for new batches for GATE ESE 2023 and 24. Okay, and both language Hindi, English. So these are the base information. You can join Unacademy Combat to get a scholarship on Unacademy. Okay, and get a free subscription, because 1 to 3 rank on Unacademy Combat get 100% scholarship. Now let's talk about the Unacademy Lite subscription. In this subscription, you can take a mixed topic and subject by mock test. Okay, now let's talk about price hike. After 31st March, the price is going to hike by 10%. Okay, and up to 31st March, you will have an additional subscription benefit. Like if you take a 12-month subscription, you will get a 3-month additional subscription, and if you get a 24-month subscription, you will get 4-month additional subscription. Now let's talk about, this is the price hike after the. Now you can download the study material on Academy app. Okay, to download the study material, which is basically content under the mentorship or top educators, this material is a reference for reference and quick reference. Okay, and you can access this study material on Academy at any time, anywhere, and this is available for plus and as well as iconic subscriber. So to access this material, you can use this barcode and you can apply my code Pathan to get a study material. Okay, so now let's clear the doubt of SK. First of all, SK, we don't know at what ranking you will get a IIT or not, but if you try up to last round of counseling, you can get a good IITs. Okay, if you compromise with the branches, because you know that in the PI or manufacturing, there is no much job you can find out. Okay, very less jobs in which you will be applicable. Okay, so if you want to get a good benefit of IITs or NITs, you should choose a branch like data science. You can choose a branch like aeronautics, If you are interested in computer science, then you can go for data science MTech, and you can get a very good placement after MTech if you are motivated to get a placement only. Okay, because sometime what happen now, if you go off stream branches, if you go in PI or core section branches, you know that in the production sector right now, all the machining, all this thing is automation, working on automation. Okay, so you require a basic skill of coding also, you require a basic skill of Python, Java, and you should require that skill. Okay, but if you are in IITs or NITs, what happen in IITs and NITs that the if the software company is coming in IITs and NITs, they will allow all the branches for MTech as well as BTech. Okay, so if you are good in coding and if you are have some skill in this, so you can get a placement in that companies. Okay, core companies will be very limited when we talk about the production or PI branch, manufacturing branch, because right now the core companies in India is very limited and they are not coming in the campus as well. So if you want a good job, okay, I would suggest you that you should choose a branch like data science. You can choose artificial intelligence branch, you can choose different branches, or if you choose the production also, you can enhance your skill in the coding also. Okay, you should learn the Python, you should learn our tools, which is important in industries tool. Okay, so then only you will be able to get a placement after MTech, and then only the MTech will be beneficial for you. No, SK, what happened then? We don't know what is actually possible or not. Okay, up to last year, the total number of applicant up to some years, the total number of applicant in GATE was in this branches was 2 to 3 lakhs in a mechanical branch. Okay, what happened after in this year? Total number of applicant is only 90,000 applicant. I'm talking about the applicant, not number of student appear. Applicant is 90,000. So you can see a drastic reduction of student which is appearing for GATE examination. Same thing is for MTech admission. When you go for MTech admission, what happen now? Sometimes student go for counseling, but they will not attend. They will not basically take a MTech seat. So what happened? That seat is going to be empty. Or after the second, third, and fourth round of counseling, lot of students basically leave seats. So there is a very good chance that you will get a good NIT IIT if you go up to last round, or if you go in the winter session counseling. Because that I don't know actually the date, but hopefully in June, July, the CCMT, June, July, May, CCMT start. I don't know actually when it will come to register, but it will start soon. Okay, but you should apply for COP also. You should apply for IITs also, because you don't know when you will get IITs or not. Sometimes you can get IIT at low rank also. If you get IITs, then you will get a placement of IITs also. Well, placement opportunities of IITs. Okay, and what happen if you are good at languages, if you do hard work in that particular segment, what happen now? First, you to try your level best to achieve good seat in this counseling. If you are not good achieve that, then you can go for winter counseling. But I also suggest some IITs like IIT Hyderabad, BITS Pilani, they are very good colleges actually. BITS Pilani, IIT Jodhpur, okay, IIT Jodhpur, and some of new IITs also. Basically, they are conducting their separate entrance examination. Okay, IIT Jodhpur, IIT Hyderabad, BITS Pilani, IIT Madras as well. So they are conducting a separate admission test. So what you should do, that you should apply for that particular test also, because you don't know, if you get these colleges, you also can get a good placement. Okay. This is only a few which I know actually. There is a lot of colleges. So there is a lot of good colleges. They have their own selection process. Okay, for MTech admission. So you can apply for that colleges. They are very good colleges. Okay, so you should clear your target. What is your target? If your target is job only, then go for strong your computing skill. Make now it's okay. Now it's okay. Now it's okay. Okay. So I think in the last class we complete the what is the internal energy. Okay. In last class we complete what is the internal energy. Okay. So I was checking the last classes, what up to what point we completed the topic. So now I come to know we complete the what is the internal energy. Okay. Now we'll talk about isolated system. Okay, energy of an isolated system. We'll talk about energy of an isolated system. Isolated system. Isolated system always constant. Okay, so energy of an isolated system is constant. So what is the isolated system? Let's talk about. If a system is isolated system, then what we will assume? The system is isolated system. That means there is no mass transfer from the system. There is no energy transfer from the system. This means the mass transfer, energy transfer from the system is zero. Mass transfer and energy transfer is zero. Okay, so the system is called as isolated system. Now if we talk about the first law of thermodynamics, the first law of thermodynamics is dq equal to d plus dw, and in the energy transfer, energy transfer means work transfer is also zero and heat transfer is also zero. So if energy transfer is zero, that means heat transfer is zero and work transfer is zero. So the total energy of system will remain constant. So change in energy is going to be zero. So isolated system has constant energy. Isolated system is constant energy. Though we assume our universe as an isolated system, so we can say the total energy of an isolated system or whole universe is constant. Okay, because we assume universe as an isolated system. Universe as an isolated system. Universe as an isolated system. isolated system, because all the heat will transfer, all the work and heat will transfer between system and surrounding. So when we take system and surround combined, it is known as universe. So we will assume universe will behave as an isolated system. That means we will assume there is no heat loss from the universe, there is no work done outside the universe, and there is no mass transfer outside the universe. And that means universe will behave as an isolated system. So because universe is an isolated system, so we will say the total energy of universe is always constant. The total energy of universe is always constant, and this principle is known as energy conservation principle. So total energy of universe is constant, only one kind of energy will convert into other kind of energy. That means if the ball is falling from the height, what happens? The potential energy basically changing into kinetic energy, because the total energy of the ball is always remain constant. So one form of energy will convert into another form of energy, but the total energy, the summation of all the energy must remain constant when we talk about the isolated system. Because we are assuming universe as an isolated system, so the total energy of the universe is also remain constant. Okay, so this is called isolated system. So here we come, this is called as conservation of energy principle, and that's why we sometimes also refer first law of thermodynamics as a conservation of energy principle. Okay, so first law of thermodynamics tell us that the total energy of any given system and surrounding is constant. Okay, so only one kind of energy will convert into another kind of energy. So total energy will not going to change at all. So this is called as conservation of energy principle. Okay, so this is the third consequence of first law of thermodynamics, that total energy will remain constant. Now fourth, now you understand this? You understand or not? Understand this, the total energy will remain constant. So this is called conservation of energy principle. Total energy will remain constant. Okay, now here we come to the perpetual motion machine. Perpetual motion machine. Perpetual motion machine. Machine of first kind. First kind. This is called PMM first. Is impossible. PMM first is impossible. This is the statement given by the Paris Society of England. This is the principle given by the Paris Society of England. Okay, that means any combination of pulley or any other system, pulley or mechanical system, no machine can be a perpetual motion machine. Okay, because it was established that you cannot produce a work or you cannot produce a continuous energy without losing another form of energy. Because you know that from the basic, the total energy of universe is constant. Okay, so if you are producing a one kind of energy, the another kind of energy has to be destroyed. Okay, so only one form of energy can convert into another form of energy. You cannot generate a energy. You cannot generate energy. If there is a chemical energy loss, then you can produce a work done. Like if you say, if you are burning a fuel and you are producing some heat and you are producing some work, what happen here? Fuel has some chemical energy, and that chemical energy basically convert into heat or work. So you cannot produce any kind of energy. You can change only one form of energy into another form of energy. It was established fact when the first law of thermodynamics come. But what happened, my dear friends, after the first law of thermodynamics, lot of people give effort to produce such kind of machine which require no other form of energy, because the people were fascinated by this fact. If we can develop a machine like which does not require any form of energy to produce a work, so we can continuously find out the work. Okay, so you can see a lot of YouTube videos where you can see a machine. You can basically uh, uh, see a machine which is doing continuously work without losing of heat or any form of energy. Okay, this is the claim by lot of YouTube's video. Okay, similar claim were made in 1850 to 1860. Similar claim made by thousands of people that we just made the machine which does not require any form of energy. You can see that this machine is continuously working. This claim made by the thousand persons. Okay, now so the patent society which actually see the patent or machine to recognize that machine basically publish one statement कि we are not consider any machine which claim that this machine is a perpetual motion machine, or a machine which does not require any form of energy to run continuously. Okay, perpetual machine, yes, perpetual motion machine means continuously or in cycle. Continuous. Okay, so this statement basically passed by the Paris Society of England, which actually see patent. Okay, so they just published one statement. So we will not anymore consider a machine which is known as a perpetual motion machine, or which claim that we just made a machine which does not require any form of energy. Why this continuous word basically mentioned in this definition? The reason is that yes, it is possible to produce a work without any energy input. Yes, it is possible. Like we have two magnets, one having a north pole, second having a south pole. What happened? One magnet will attract to another magnet. Okay, what happened? This magnet will automatically come to second magnet. Okay, because of magnetic attraction force. But this process will not possible in the reverse direction. Only one direction is possible, but the reverse direction is not possible. So one mechanism known as machine only when it work continuously or come back to a or work in a cycle. One mechanism can say as a machine when it work in a cycle. Okay, so yes, that's why this continuous motion machine word, continuous motion word basically come into picture. That means any machine which work in a cycle or in continuous manner without absorbing any other form of energy is not possible, or developing a work without consuming any other form of energy is not possible. Okay, so this is called perpetual motion machine. Now you clear? Is that clear? So the statement was, there is no machine, there can be no machine which would develop work continuously, because one direction work is possible without absorbing any kind of energy. You can do one work in one direction, but you cannot do that work continuously. Okay, you cannot run that machine in continuous manner. Okay, that's why this mention a word. There can be no machine which would develop a work continuously. That's very important word. Without absorbing without energy. ठीक है. So a machine or cycle is known as PMM, which produce work without any energy input. This machine is known as PMM machine. Okay. Now come to enthalpy. What is the enthalpy? Let's understand what is the enthalpy and what is the difference between internal energy and enthalpy, and why the enthalpy is a property. ठीक है, तो हम ये देखते हैं कि एंथैल्पी क्या है और क्यों ये प्रॉपर्टी है और क्या डिफरेंस होता है एंथैल्पी और इंटरनल एनर्जी के बीच में. सो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, टेल मी if one gas filled in the container, a gas filled in a container having a temperature T, ठीक है, same gas moving in a pipeline, same gas moving in a pipeline with the temperature T. What happened, my dear friend? Is it both gas have a same total energy? If you say if both gas have same total energy or anything different here? Both gas have same total energy, or you can say both gas have different energy. Or one another gas, suppose this having a P naught temperature, sorry, pressure, and this is also P naught pressure, and a gas fill another container temperature T but pressure P1, and P1 is higher than P0. Yes. So my dear friend, these three gases number A, gases number B, and this is C. So the maximum energy will be in one, then in A, and then in B. Why? Let's see. All gases had same temperature, different pressure. One is in a state of flowing. Another two gases are stationary. What happened here? Let's see. When the gas flowing with the temperature, okay, what is the meaning of temperature? Meaning of temperature, if we see internal energy at microscopic level, what is the meaning of internal energy, my dear friends? At microscopic level, when we see internal energy, more internal energy means the more kinetic energy inside the molecules. Because according to kinetic theory of gas said inside a system all the gases molecule had individual kinetic energy. Okay, so more the kinetic energy, more the temperature. So basically a temperature is a function of kinetic energy of the molecule. Temperature is a function of kinetic energy of the molecule. If more the temperature of the system, more will be a kinetic energy of individual molecules. Okay. Now, if we talk about internal energy, what is the internal energy? Internal energy is a function of kinetic energy plus potential energy. What is the potential energy, my dear friends? Suppose we have a two molecules, okay, two masses bounded by a elastic wire. What happens when this masses goes far? What happens? Some potential energy stored in this elastic wire. What happened? Because this wire basically pulled out. When this pulled out, and some potential energy will store in this wire. When these masses come closer also, then also some potential energy stored in this string wire. So what happens? Some average potential energy always present when molecule has bond between in between them. So the potential energy term will come from the bonding. If molecule has a bonding between them, what happens? There will always associate with a potential, some potential energy, because maybe possible the bond length will be larger than original length, or maybe possible the bond length it is shorter than original length. In both the cases, what happen, like the spring, if we compress the spring also, spring stores some potential energy. If we expand the spring also, it will store some potential energy. So what happened, my dear friends? The total energy of molecular system, that is called internal energy, is a function of kinetic energy of molecule. That means molecule are vibrating and they are moving randomly, plus the potential energy between the molecule, that is called molecular interaction. Okay. So my dear friend, when when we talk about ideal case, ideal case as a refer as a case in which we assume that there is no very small molecular bonding, so we can neglect the bond between the molecules and we can treat ideal case, each molecule is a free molecule inside the ideal case. So ideal case is a case in which we can assume all molecules are free to move, they does not have a bond between them. So what happened in that particular scenario? What happened, my dear friends? Internal energy become a function of kinetic energy, because in case of ideal case there is no molecular interaction. Okay. There is no molecular interaction. So what happened? The potential energy between the molecule becomes zero. So that's why in case of ideal case, internal energy is a function of kinetic energy, and the kinetic energy is a function of temperature. And that's why the internal energy in the case of ideal case is a function of temperature only. And that's why in case of ideal case you will write internal, or you will see also the internal energy is a function of temperature only. Okay, the reason is that because now the internal energy is a function of kinetic energy or molecules. Okay, and the temperature and internal energy becomes same now, because if there is no molecular interaction. Okay, so this is called a system. This is what is we define inside the system. Okay, so this is called internal energy. So when a gas filled inside a container and it having a temperature and molecular bonding, then it has an internal energy. So because of temperature and the molecular bonding inside the system, you will have an internal energy. You will have an internal energy just because of molecular bonding and temperature or kinetic energy of the molecules. That's why you will have an internal energy of the molecular system. But if that molecular system has some pressure also, what means the pressure? Pressure means molecule basically transferring some momentum to the container wall. Some momentum to the container wall. And if the gas filled with higher pressure, what happened, my dear friends? What happened, my dear friends? What happened, my dear friends? When the pressure is higher, then distance between the molecules is decreasing. That means you are forced molecule to come closer. You are forced molecule to come closer. Like if we assume the spring between the molecules, if they have a normal pressure or atmospheric pressure, what happens? The normal distance between the molecule is this. But if you put a molecule with some pressure, what happens? The distance between the molecule will goes down. Distance between the molecule will decrease. And when the distance between the molecule decrease, what happens? Along with the kinetic energy and potential energy because of molecular interaction, additional potential energy will come because of pressure. Will come because of pressure. Because now you compress the molecule, you just increase the pressure. What? Because of pressure high, because of high pressure, what happened? There is a kinetic energy already present, potential energy because of normal pressure. But now if you additionally compress, then what? Additional pressure, potential energy will come into picture. And this summation of kinetic energy and potential energy is known as internal energy. And this additional potential energy is known as flow work. So when you multiply pressure by volume directly, that is called, this is additional potential energy. Higher the pressure, higher this additional potential energy. Lower the volume between the, lower the space. Okay. And इसके अलावा एक और चीज, so this is called as flow energy, and so combined of this is known as enthalpy. So when you increase the pressure from the normal point to a higher point, what happens? Additional energy, additional potential energy will add inside the system, and that additional energy is known as flow work. That additional energy is known as flow work. So this enthalpy is basically a summation of U plus this flow work. This flow work is nothing but additional potential energy because of pressure inside the system. So when the fluid flow inside the pipeline, it having a higher pressure, and because of high pressure, this is fluid is flowing inside the pipeline. If it does not have a pressure, then fluid is not going to flow inside the pipeline. So if it, because of pressure, this fluid is flowing, so because of flow, because of this pressure, some additional potential energy come into picture, and that additional potential energy is known as flow energy. So summation of internal energy is basically the kinetic energy plus potential energy because of molecular interaction plus flow energy is known as enthalpy. So enthalpy represent a total energy of the pressurized system. And that's why this is also known as energy. It is also known as energy. So it is called total energy when the pressurized energy also come into picture. So yes, if there is no pressure, then U equal to, yes, this is very important, H equal to U, no pressure. If this is 0, then automatically H equal to U. Now you understand what is the total energy of the system. And that's why the student confuse lot of time. This is called, sir, flow work. Oh, flow work. It is nothing but a pressure energy. It is called pressure energy. It is not flow work. It is known as flow work. It is a pressure energy. So enthalpy is a summation of internal energy plus pressure energy, is also known as flow work. Because if you know the Bernoulli equation, you know that in the Bernoulli equation we had pressure, kinetic energy plus potential energy. What is this pressure means? This pressure is nothing but a represent the pressure energy. Because if you multiply all this term with the volume, this become V in PV, this become mv square by 2, this become mgz. So this is nothing but a pressure energy or flow work. So that's why enthalpy is also a one of the form of energy. One of the form of energy. That's why enthalpy is one of the form of energy. Okay. So sometimes people confuse, sir, this is the work. Sir, pressure into volume is the work, and work is a path function. So why, sir, enthalpy is a point function? Why, sir, enthalpy is a property? And it is not a work, my dear friend. It is a pressure energy. We refer them as a work because of pressure, then only the flow is possible. Nah? Because of pressure only the flow is possible. If there is no pressure, then flow is not possible. And that's why we refer them as a work, flow work. Because of pressure, there is a work going to be happen. Coming to picture. So enthalpy is a extensive property it is generally expressed in kilojoule. Specific enthalpy and okay. So this is the point. मजा आया? अब इतना डेप्थ में पढ़ने के लिए डेप्थ वाली नॉलेज और पेशेंस भी चाहिए होता है. ठीक है. अब ये आपको Okay. Now let's see heat transfer in various closed system process. We have not covered the, I don't think, first a constant volume process. Okay. So if we talk about the constant volume process, what happens? We have a first law from dq equal to du plus pdv. If volume is constant, what happens? The dq equal to du, my dear friend, because pdv becomes 0. So that means the heat transfer will be equal to d. And now, so du can also be written as mcv dt. So du equal to mcv dt is the value of du, because internal energy is a property and it will not depend on path. It is a property, so it will not depend on type of process. So du equal to mcv dt valid for any kind of process, any kind of process. Any kind of process. Though you derive it is for constant volume process, but this is not, this term is not limited to any process. Why it is not limited to any process? Because the change in internal energy is a property, and property does not depend on path. Property does not depend on type of process between one to second point. Okay, so it does not depend on path because it is a property. And this is the reason, it is valid for any kind of process. Okay. Second point. Second point, for constant pressure process. So dq equal to du plus pdv. If pressure is constant, then you can differentiate, take differentiate sound outside. Pressure is constant, so again what happened? The pressure will come out from this differentiation and it is again become pdv. So now this dq can also be written as du plus pv, because you know that the differentiation of u plus pv again du plus if p is constant then pdv, and this u plus pv is known as enthalpy. So dq equal to dh, and because it is a constant pressure process, so dq write as mcp dt. So dh mcp dt. If dh is mcp dt, that means it is valid for any kind of process again. Why? Because enthalpy is also property. So it does not depend on path. If it is not depend on path, so that's why it is valid for any kind of process. Okay. So now, my dear friends, I will write some points for ideal case. Du equal to mcp dt, dh equal to mcp dt, and internal energy is a function of temperature, and enthalpy is also function of temperature. Why? Because now you understand, my dear friend. Again इसी conclusion पे आते हैं. You know that if gas is ideal gas, so there is no bonding, so both the potential energy becomes zero. Both the potential energy become zero, so internal energy is also become a function of temperature, or enthalpy is also become a function of temperature, and that's why both become a function of temperature, and hence prove in this case also. Third, isothermal process. If isothermal process means temperature is constant. If temperature is constant, then dq equal to du plus dw. And you know that for ideal gas, internal energy is a function of temperature. And if the temperature is constant, then change in internal energy becomes zero. Yes, this equation valid for ideal case. This equivalent for ideal gas. Ideal gas, because in case of ideal gas only there is a difference in Cp and Cv. If it is not ideal gas, then there is no difference in Cv and Cv. So du equal to क्या हो गया? Du equal to 0. So in this case, isothermal process, dq equal to dw. That means heat transfer will be converted into directly work done. So isothermal process become a most efficient process, because in isothermal process heat completely converted into work. Heat completely converted into work. So heat transfer will be equal to work transfer in case of isothermal. ठीक है. I think you come late. Saksham Mathur, I think you come late in the class. Array, because when we talk about the internal energy, is the internal energy function of kinetic energy but potential energy. And what is potential energy means? The potential energy means the energy because of molecular interaction, because molecule having some intermolecular forces, okay, intermolecular attraction. So suppose the two molecule is connected with like a spring system. What happens if you take this mass far away from each other? What happens? The some kinetic energy will store in this spring. If you take mass closer than their normal position, what happens? Again some kinetic energy, so some potential energy will store inside this system. So similarly, when there is a two molecule and they will have some bonding between them, what happens? When this molecule goes far away, what happens? Some potential energy stored in the molecular bonding, and when they come closer, same potential energy also stored between the molecules. So when you talk about the total energy of the molecular system, so it is a summation of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy come because of temperature, and plus potential energy, that is come because of molecular interaction. Okay. Again, now talk about the enthalpy. What happens when you compress a certain system? What happens? Their distance, natural distance become less. If you compress system, what happens? The molecule come closer, so some additional potential energy is stored because of pressure. and this total kinetic energy plus potential energy because of additional pressure is known as enthalpy. If there is no molecular bonding, if this spring is not present, so molecules are free to move, and they're free to move, come closer or go far away, because molecular bonding are not present in case of ideal case. So both the potential energy because of normal pressure and potential energy because of additional pressure becomes zero, and that's why the enthalpy is also function of kinetic energy and internal energy is also function of kinetic energy. This is the explanation of why the enthalpy and internal energy become a kinetic energy, function of kinetic energy. So that's why you can say the isothermal processes are the most efficient processes for compression as well as expansion. But why we are not taking isothermal process in the natural normal cycles? Because isothermal processes are very slow process, and that's why we are not taking isothermal process in the natural cycles. Reason is it is very slow for expansion and compression. Though the isothermal expansion and compression will be very efficient process, but we will not take expansion and compression process through isothermal process. Reason is the process become very slow and the cycle will not be possible anymore. Now next is for adiabatic process. So in case of adiabatic process, there is no heat transfer at all. Okay, what is the meaning of adiabatic process? The heat transfer becomes zero. So du equal to 0. So dq equal to du plus dw. So work done equal to loss in internal energy. Because the internal energy is a property, work done in case of adiabatic process also become a property. Work done in adiabatic process is also become a property. That means if we talk about the adiabatic process, it only one between the two states. If we say adiabatic process, it will be a constant process. Only one adiabatic process possible between 1 to 2. Okay, because it become a property. चलिए बाकी हम पॉलीट्रॉपिक प्रोसेस वाला जो है नेक्स्ट क्लास में करेंगे, ठीक है, क्योंकि हमारा कंटिन्यूसली क्लास होता है. इसके बाद भी अभी हमारा क्लास है 8 बजे से, तो थोड़ा बीच में खाने के लिए भी ब्रेक लेना पड़ता है. ठीक है. सो आई होप यू लर्न अ लॉट. मजा आ रहा हो आपको. टुमारो टाइमिंग 5:30 है. 5:30. हाँ, या यू कैन कॉन्टेक्ट मी व्हेन ऑन टेलीग्राम ना, टेलीग्राम पर हमारे को कांटेक्ट कर लीजिए आप। टेलीग्राम पर वो ग्रुप है, उसमें मैं मिल जाऊंगा आपको, वहां से कांटेक्ट कर लीजिए। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच टू ज्वाइन द क्लास। Please share the lecture and hit the bell icon for the notification, like and share the classes. Thank you very much, मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट क्लास में, तब के बाय।